Hi, and welcome to Coffee with Claire. They call it the sport of kings because one of the first jockeys was a king. Yet horse racing has grown into a multi-billion-dollar industry enjoyed by millions all over the world. My guest today is Rodney Nelson, marketing manager at Lone Star Park, Grand Prairie. Rodney promotes major events and races at the track and is well connected in the horse racing industry. He's also a U.S. Army veteran and graduate of the University of Arizona Racetrack Industry Program. Welcome, Rodney.
Thank you, Claire. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
I am so thrilled to get to learn all about horse racing because I really don't know very much about it. I know that they run around a track and they seem to go for a fur piece and then they stop and then they celebrate. And that's about all I know.
Usually one of them celebrates, not all of them.
The rest of them go home with the tail between their legs going, better luck next time.
Yeah, better luck next time. Let's try it again in a couple weeks.
Yeah. So you've got a really vast background. I mean, you were in the military.
That's right.
And then you went from the military to horse school.
Well, there was actually a stop in between then that I worked for the state of Texas. But,
okay. All right.
That was an interesting job, too. I used to travel around Central Texas and tell people that they were HIV positive.
Oh, wow. Gosh.
So that was a little bit of experience.
Yes. Well, and then, so that is even a more interesting transition from what you were doing there into horse racing.
That's right.
So I didn't even know that there was a school that you could attend that would teach you everything about horse racing. What tell me about that.
Yeah, there's not many schools that'll teach you about horse racing.
Okay.
I think the University of Arizona is one of the few in the U.S. There's another one at the University of Louisville.
Okay.
But the programs are a little bit different. So at University of Arizona, they call it the Racetrack Industry Program.
Okay.
And it was started in the mid-'70s, I want to say. Actually, the Quarter Horse Association was shopping around and looking for a school to help educate people about the racing.
Okay.
And University of Arizona, from what I heard, was the only school that took the bait.
So what was your impetus to even start exploring going into horse racing?
Well, I'd always been a fan of horses. I like horses. Growing up in Texas, it's pretty easy to drive down the road and catch some horses every now and then.
They're not ranging, like we're roaming around free range, okay? Just so you guys know that aren't in Texas, it's not like we're riding horses to work. So
yeah, we're not passing them on the highway
disclaimer.
and stuff most of the time.
Unless they're in fences.
Yeah. So how I really got into it was, like I said, seeing the horses around when I was younger. I enjoyed horses. Pari-mutuel wagering or horse racing that you could bet on didn't become legal in the state of Texas again until the mid-'90s, early to mid-'90s.
Okay.
So my dad and some of his friends, they used to take trips across state lines to Bossier City, Louisiana, to Louisiana Downs, or up to Hot Springs, Arkansas, to Oaklawn Park. Mm-hmm. And this was back when they had horse racing in the newspapers.
Okay.
So he used to throw me the Dallas Morning News or Dallas Times-Herald at the time and say, all right, pick you out a horse and give me $2. And when he'd come back from his trip, he'd hand me a $20 bill a lot of times. So I said, hey, this is easy. I need to get into this. So, yeah, ever since I was little, I enjoyed the horse racing, and that's about how I got into it.
So how long is the program? Is it a couple of years? Or?
It's a 4-year program.
4 years?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
wow.
you actually earn a
Okay.
bachelor's degree. I have my bachelor's degree. It's in animal science, the
Okay.
Racetrack Industry Program concentration.
That is fascinating. So I'm sure that there was a lot of business as well as horse learning, I mean, that sounds funny, horse learning, but, I mean, it's like you learn all about the different kinds of horses, but you're also running and managing a business.
That's right. They had the Racetrack Industry Program has 2 different paths that you can go down. They have a business path,
Okay.
and then they have more of a hands-on horse path. Now, me, I wanted to do the hands-on horse path. You see on TV, the Kentucky Derby, and how the winning trainer's always super excited and stuff like that. So I said, you know what? I might want to try this horse training stuff out. But got out to Arizona and found out I was going to have to spend another year and a half in school, and said, you know what, I'll do the business path instead. So, but with that being said, I mean, it's still a animal science degree, so we did have to take classes, horse science classes, learn anatomy of the horse, and had to take about 6 semesters of chemistry. But that's only because I failed 5 semesters of it. So. But so there was some science involved, other than just business classes.
So for those of us that don't know as much about horses, what's the difference between a quarter horse and a thoroughbred?
All right, I get this question quite a bit.
I bet you do, because we just don't know.
Yeah, there is
muggles.
There is a difference between the 2 breeds. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different breeds of horses, but basically here in Texas, the 2 main breeds that we race are thoroughbreds and quarter horses.
Okay.
Also have some small races for like paint horses, Appaloosas, etc. So we're getting into all kinds of breeds. But how I like to put it to people is the thoroughbreds are kind of fancy horses.
Fancy.
They're long and lean. They run a lot longer distances. They're the classic horses that you see, Kentucky Derby, Triple Crown races or whatnot. Probably most of the ones that most mainstream people in America know about as thoroughbred horses.
Okay.
Now, quarter horses, they bred a little different. They come from different bloodlines.
Okay.
But they're more the ranch horses. I put them to say they're the ranch horses. They're work horses. You'll see them. They're a lot more muscular.
Okay.
And they don't run the longer distance. They run a lot of sprints when they run races.
Interesting.
So basically, it's just how they were bred. The quarter horses were bred to work on the cattle ranches and stuff like that. So that's how they evolved. So they're a lot bigger, like I said, bigger, muscular, and they're sprinters versus the thoroughbreds who, will run a mile or more.
That is so interesting. Well, now I know. So, do you ride the horses too?
I do not. Last time I rode a horse, I was riding it with a friend of mine, and I got hit in the head with a tree branch, and I said, I don't want to do this anymore.
Oh. Yeah, I guess they don't have like those mirrors and side view mirrors like
no,
the car
there's no
does.
mirrors on the horses, and a lot of times the horses are going to do what they want to do instead.
Yeah, they kind of do have a mind of their own, and I understand that they go a lot faster going home than they do leaving. So it's like, yay, hay's coming.
Right, it's time to eat. Let's go.
Yay. Well, I'm a little bit motivated by that too, so I can totally understand that. So, well, you think about horse racing, you think about New York or California, or you had mentioned Kentucky, when it comes to the thoroughbred racing, the things that we see on TV and stuff like that. So how did Dallas get in the mix?
Well, I mean, Dallas-Fort Worth area is a top 5 media market.
Okay.
I was actually watching the news last night, and the Census Bureau came out with some new statistics. They said the city of Dallas was the 9th largest city in the U.S., and Fort Worth actually came in at number 13.
Oh, wow.
So when you talk about Dallas and Fort Worth being, 50 miles apart, if that, there's a lot of people in the metro area. I think it's about 7.5, close to 8 million people in the metro area. So when you're looking at different areas for big businesses or sporting events, this happened to be a good fit. And Texas does lead the nation in the amount of horses in the state. So there's more horses in Texas than there are in any other part of the United States. So it just kind of seems natural that horse racing would come to the state of Texas.
And so Lone Star Park has been around for a long time now, right?
Well, it depends on
what a timeline.
Yeah, what kind of timeline.
Okay.
We just celebrated our 20th anniversary 2 years ago.
Oh, well, happy anniversary.
So we've been around for 22 years.
That's a pretty sustainable business model if you can stay around that long.
If you can, 22 years. That's a good time frame. And we face a lot of challenges from neighboring states and even within the state of Texas from our politicians. They might have other ideas that may not support gambling or stuff like that. So 22 years, that's not bad.
So what kinds of events do y'all hold there at Lone Star Park?
Besides the horse racing, we do a lot of other stuff too. We just wrapped up an event in our parking lot, which was General Motors rented out the parking lot to showcase a lot of their new vehicles to dealers around. We have a fun event that we put on every year. This is the 5th year that we've done it, called Lone Star Bark, where people can bring their dogs out to the track and actually race them for money on the track.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Which is pretty exciting.
Oh my gosh, I love the little dash-on races at the German festivals and stuff like that with their little legs.
We've had everything from wiener dogs up to Great Danes that race. And
Oh my gosh.
It's a lot of fun.
That is amazing. So do they like win prizes and stuff?
Yeah, they win cash money. We give the winner $200 of each race and the runner-up $100.
Wow, how fun.
It's a lot of fun. We also do an event called Jockeys in Java every year.
Okay.
It's
Hey,
great.
that sounds like something for Coffee
Yeah,
with
I know,
Claire.
coffee, right? So what happens for Jockeys in Java is people can come out. They get a free breakfast on the morning that we do it. We have interviews with jockeys and trainers. Our track announcer does that. And then after that's wrapped up, what we'll do is we'll put people on buses, take them to the backside where they can visit the horses in the barn, take pictures, pet some horses, and believe it or not, a lot of horses like peppermints, so people can feed them peppermints.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why they like peppermints so much, but they do.
Well, everybody wants fresh breath.
I guess, you know.
Well, that's awesome. That's really interesting. So, do they still like carrots? You always see people give them carrots.
Yes, they do.
Is
We
that-
actually,
okay.
for this last year for the Kentucky Derby, we had two local connections up at Churchill Downs, and we actually sent them a bucket of carrots each.
Aw, that's so thoughtful. Did you have a bow?
What's that?
Did you put a bow on it?
Yeah, there was a bow on it, as a matter of fact.
So you mentioned General Motors getting involved at Lone Star Park. There's a lot of businesses that are based here in Dallas. So how do they get involved with you guys?
Well, you know, it's pretty easy to get involved with this. We have a large facility. We have about 800,000 patrons that come out throughout the calendar year.
Okay.
We do a lot of different events, and if different businesses want to be involved, they can contact me. I'm pretty easy to find. I run the Twitter handle, so you can hit me up at Lone Star Park.
Okay.
You can give a call to the main switchboard number and ask for sponsorships or advertising, marketing, whatever you want to do. Those calls usually make their way up to my office.
Okay.
And yeah, it's pretty good. We've partnered with some pretty good businesses over the past few years, and it's been worthwhile on our end as well as theirs.
So, do you guys ever do anything with interns that maybe some students might be interested in your business model, or do you do anything with other businesses to bring kids along with you or bring them up or anything?
There are some instances when we do have interns. I actually started out there as an intern when I was at the University of Arizona. I did my first 2 years as an intern during the Thoroughbred seasons out at Lone Star Park.
Okay.
The first season was great. I basically got to spend about 2 weeks with every department around the track. So I was in marketing. I was back in the racing office. I was in Mutuals, who handles all the wagering. Food and beverage, I spent some time with them. So I got to move around quite a bit,
get to have a
which
little
was
different
nice. And I
everything,
finally settled on marketing, was where I wanted to be. But yeah, we do hire some interns for different positions around the track every year.
I was just curious, my background is in education, and I really feel like the best way to learn is hands-on.
Right.
And it sounds like that the program that you went through believed in that as well. And I really do think that, like you said, you were able to try things out and be able to figure out what fit for you before you made a final decision, which is way better than getting a position and then figuring it out once you're there. And you're like, oh no, now what do I do?
Oops.
Yeah, I really can't afford it. Oops. And the businesses don't really want to afford that oops either. So it's kind of a smart way of doing things. So you talked a little bit about your position as the marketing king there.
I wouldn't say the king, but
I just
we all
crowned you.
have aspirations, right?
Right. I think a crown looking on your head. What are some of the things that you all do to help market Lone Star?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, the Dallas-Fort Worth area is a huge metro
Right,
area.
yeah.
Top 5 media market. So we do a lot of advertising on social, do a lot of social stuff, which I tout that because I've run the social.
Well, and that's how everybody's
For
finding
Lone
out
Star.
information anyways now.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we do traditional media as well, TV, radio, print. We do a lot of digital billboards. And recently, last year and a half, 2 years, we started marketing very heavy to the Latino market.
Okay.
They are real big in quarter horse racing. It's very Latino heavy, the quarter horse racing is. So we've seen some great success and some gains for our quarter horse season doing that.
So does the Thoroughbred have a season and the quarter horse have a season, or do they overlap, or how does that work?
We actually run at 2 different times of the year. And
okay.
The Thoroughbreds, we start around the second week of April and run through mid-July.
Okay.
Then we take about a month and a half off, and then the quarter horses run from September to mid-November.
So what do you do when there's no horses running around the track?
I try to justify my position. So no, but doing social and sponsorships, business relations, there's always something to do. We do have a very large seasonal staff.
Okay.
But there are some of us that are fortunate enough to be at the track year round. I mean, not only do we race live, but we also have a great simulcast facility next door.
Oh.
That most people know is like a OTB is what a lot of people call it through other parts of the country.
Okay.
Where you can come out and you can watch, wager, and win is what we say. Watch, wager, and win on horse racing from 363 days a year. So almost every day of the year. Bar and book is what we call it. It's open, and you can come out there and you can wager not only from races that are happening here in the United States, but we show races from Australia and other parts of the world as well.
Wow, that's really interesting. Now, do you just show horses, or do you ever show like camel racing or anything like that?
Not camel racing, greyhounds.
Okay.
We show greyhound racing and also harness racing at standard breds, where you see them with pulling the little cart behind the horse.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
So yeah, we have those. We simulcast those as well, but it's pretty regulated by the state of what we can actually accept wagers on. So that's about it.
Okay.
Horses and greyhounds is what they'll let us bet on.
Okay, well that makes sense. You know, there's so many parts and pieces to what you do. I mean, when one goes out to Lone Star Park, you know, there's so much to look at and see and experience, you know, that you don't step back and think about how it all gets executed behind the scenes, you know, and that's basically your world. So do you ever get to enjoy the events, or are you always working like a horse? No pun intended. Or maybe I did.
Well, I'm always working like a horse, but I mean, if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't be out there. So I do enjoy pretty much 90% of what we got going on out there. And when I do get stressed out or I'm not feeling it,
yeah,
I mean, all I gotta do is step out the front door and watch some horses run around in a circle, and it makes me feel a little bit better.
But it's not like they're chasing their tail like a dog. They actually have a purpose.
Most of them not. Every once in a while you see one that might do that, but.
So from your professional perspective, what is the very best way to experience watching the horse races?
Well, I'll tell you, from my professional experience, my favorite way to view the horses and how I really grew up is just being on the ground floor. Being up close to the horses, right next to the track. There's not many sports in the U.S. where you can pay $5 to get in and you're 18 inches from the athletes.
Ooh, that's a great
So,
way
I mean,
to put it.
the great thing about horse racing is there's a lot of time in between each races. So you can catch the horses coming from the barns back to the paddock where they get saddled. Mm-hmm. They head out to the track after that, do what they call a post-parade. They walk around for a few minutes on their way to the starting gate, and then they'll run the race. So there's a lot of time to get up close to the horses and just experience the race firsthand. I mean, right up close. That's what I like to do. But, I mean, we take a look at Lone Star Park as a facility. One of the guys I work with compares it to a cruise ship a lot of time.
Oh.
The higher you go up on a cruise ship, the more it's going to cost you.
Okay.
So if you're down on the, if you're down
in
on the,
steerage, no.
I don't go on it. I went on one cruise. I didn't like it. All I wanted to do was get off the boat, but I was in the middle of the ocean, so I couldn't do that. But so yeah, if you're on the ground floor, I mean, $5 general admission. I mean, that's a pretty cheap price for a major sporting event. As you go up, we have some reserved seats inside, which cost you a little bit more. We have the largest dining room in the state of Texas, is what I've heard. It's our Silks dining room, where you can sit up there. It's climate controlled, 4 tiers of tables. Got a buffet up there.
And the food's really good.
Food's pretty good.
I was amazed.
Yeah, and then you go above Silks, and you got a couple levels for like private penthouse suites that you can rent out, which are not a bad deal either. I mean, $2,500, you get what, 25, 30 people, full open bar, buffet,
really,
everything you need. So yeah, it's a real good price. $2,500.
Wow, for 25 people.
25.
Do the math. No.
Yeah, it's easy math right there. That's the math I can handle.
Well, it sounds like there's something for everyone there. And would you also say that it's family friendly to where you could bring your kids and have a family event, or is this more of an adult?
No, it's open to everybody. Kids, we encourage kids to come out there.
Okay.
I mean, I got started as a kid, and if you ask a lot of people around the industry, you know, people that come out to the racetrack, you say, well, how did you fall in love with the horses? How did you start liking horse racing? Well, a lot of times you'll hear the answer is my dad brought me out, or my grandpa,
yeah.
my uncle. So a lot of people got started when they were younger, and we do things to cater to the children as well. We have bounce houses, petting zoos, pony rides on certain days.
Oh, that's fun.
So there's a lot of stuff out there for the kids to do too, even though they can't wager. Mom and dad can, but the kids can go out there and bounce on a bounce house.
Is that why you have the windows at a certain level? You have to be
there's certain
this height before you can bet.
Yeah, it's like going on a ride at the amusement park.
Well, it kind of is. Anyways, I won't. So, what do you think about the future of your business? Is it looking pretty good? I mean, is horse racing still as popular as it was before? Or?
Well, it all depends on who you ask. There's optimists out there, and there's pessimists, and then there's people right in the middle.
Just like anything.
It's the future of the business. It faces a lot of challenges. There's no doubt about that, and I think anybody in the industry will tell you the same thing. But you got to overcome those challenges and try to put it in the best light that you can. There's certain things that are good about the industry and certain things that aren't so good. It depends on what kind of agenda people have. They'll portray you in a negative light. Since it is racing live animals, some people don't necessarily care for that. Like you think of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. They recently ended after 100 years or so. But what a lot of people don't know is that the people who train the horses, the people that own the horses, they have so much love for these equine athletes, and they often get treated better than I do at home. I mean, the stalls that they have, some of them are fabulous. They come out and they get groomed a couple times a day. They get washed. They get peppermints and carrots.
Yeah,
and,
so why wouldn't they want to?
Yeah, there's some of the happiest animals there are. I will tell you that they
that
love
makes
what they
me
do.
Happy. Yes.
I mean, when you think about it, horses, they're a herd animal. That's how they are out in the wild. They like to stick together. They like to run.
Right.
So they're either going to run out in the wild, or they're going to run on the racetrack and let people enjoy them.
And be pampered.
They don't know any different. They just know that they like to run.
That's right.
That's it, and that's what they do. We let them do it.
Well, Rodney, you have been so amazing today. Thank you for being here on Coffee with Claire, and let our viewers and listeners know how they can reach you.
Have reached me personally,
or the Lone Star Park.
Reach the racetrack. Well,
yes. However you want to do that. However you want to market yourself here.
Let's see. I'm marketing myself all over the place. We're Lone Star Park. We're on all the best social media sites. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. Just look up Lone Star Park. Do a Google search for it. Not many other choices are going to come up when you put in Lone Star Park horse racing. We're the only ones around. There's only 3 Class 1 tracks in the state of Texas. So if you're looking for horse racing, Google knows where you're at, and they're going to send you right to our page.
Well, Rodney, thanks again for being here, and thanks for our loyal fans that listen and watch us every week. Have a great week. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Coffee with Claire. To learn more about today's guests, visit their website or find them on Facebook. To learn more about me, Claire Billingsley, follow me on LinkedIn or visit my website at coffeewithclaire.tv. And to hear more episodes of Coffee with Claire, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast and social media platforms.